Good morning, everybody. This is Ayyā Sobhana, speaking to you from the Empty Cloud Monastery in New Jersey. I was invited to speak here as a substitute for your regular Thursday Dhamma program, and I was invited to speak on a particular topic. That topic is the spectrum of Samādhi as it's presented in the Sutta, number 10 in Digha Nikaya, the long discourses of the Buddha. I had already given this talk once before, last Friday, but unfortunately the sound was not working. If anybody happens to be present live who's able to put a comment in the chat, you could tell me if the sound is okay. Meanwhile, I shall go ahead with this discussion. So, the Sutta is a Dhamma talk which was given by Bhikkhu Ananda. Ananda was speaking to a Brahmin, a young man, whose name was Subha, the son of Todeya. I won't spend too much time on the background story, except to notice that Todeya was famous for being a slow learner. He appears in two other suttas, where and a Jataka story. In the sutta, he comes on in a somewhat arrogant and hostile way as a wealthy young Brahmin man, the son of a respected Brahmin priest, proud of his lineage, and challenges the Buddha. Then, after hearing the discourse, in the first one about karma, and the second one about the practice of the Brahma Viharas, Subha declares himself to be a disciple of the Buddha for life. Then, the very next time they meet, it seems like he's forgotten his previous conversion and is back to the beginning, questioning in this arrogant way. And here we are, shortly following the parinibbana of the Buddha, and it seems that Subha again has forgotten. He comes to Ananda and announces himself in his father's name, and says, how do the disciples of the Buddha practice? So Subha is the archetype of a slow learner. And then Ananda is the archetype of a patient teacher. Ananda was well known for, of course, being the Buddha's secretary who listened and, with his fantastic memory, kept a photographic memory recollection of the exact teaching given by the Buddha. And Ananda was also famous for being very kind, helpful, humble. He would stay behind and give instruction. He would stay behind when the monks went out on their alms round and sweep their caves out, and if anything needed to be fixed or tidied up or cleaned, he would take care of doing that, even though he was a senior monk and a senior disciple of the Buddha. As a teacher, he was famous for teaching people how to obtain their stream entry. It was said in the commentary that he even would give 1,000 times he would give a discourse teaching to a young novice or a young monk until they finally made it across the threshold to obtain their stream entry. So in this teaching, the Sariputta is going over the gradual training, which is taught in many places in the sutta, most famously in the Samanyapala Sutta, the sutta on the fruits of recluseship, which is number 2 in the long discourses, also in many other places. But in this case, he divides the gradual training into these 3 baskets of sila, samadhi, and panya, ethics or morality, samadhi or meditation, and panya, wisdom. It's somewhat unique to see the gradual training subdivided into these 3 headings. He uses the word khanda, which is the Pali word that we see for a pile of things or a group of things, a bunch of things. Elsewhere you see khanda as translated as aggregate in terms of the 5 aggregates, what make up the personality, as the aggregate of the body, things that make up the body, the aggregate of feelings, perceptions, volitional formations, and consciousness. So those are not distinct, simple, pure entities that just have one essence, but rather they're a compilation or a pile, an aggregate of a bunch of different things that come together and form what we call the body, what we call feelings, and so forth. And just the same way, in the gradual training, there's a whole group of different kinds of trainings that come together that make up the khanda of morality, the khanda of samadhi, and the khanda of wisdom. Bhante Sujato turns this word as spectrum. I think he's doing this to avoid confusion with the 5 khandas, which are so famous. The spectrum of ethics, the spectrum of immersion, the spectrum of wisdom. Here we see, I'm going to say, the beginning of, I'll call it the Abhidhamma tendency for the disciples of the Buddha to think about organizing and classifying the Dhammas that the Buddha taught into lists. There's one other very outstanding and related example of that, and that is regarding the Eightfold Noble Path. Right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right samadhi. That's the Eightfold Noble Path. In Majjhima 44, the Chula Vedala Sutta, the Bhikkhuni Dhammadina divides the Eightfold Noble Path into 3 khandas, 3 sections. That is the section about noble virtue, the section of noble concentration or noble samadhi, and the section of noble wisdom. This is something that, if you ever took a course like called Introduction to Meditation or Introduction to Buddhism, every single course always tells you that the Eightfold Noble Path is divided into these 3 sections, but actually it's unique in this particular sutta of Bhikkhuni Chula Vedala that it's divided in that way. And so we see here that the disciples of the Buddha are beginning to organize the teachings. I'm going to read you the section about the spectrum of Samādhi in a couple of minutes. But before I do that, I'm going to say one more thing about the overview of the training in these three categories. And that is, there's a comment in another text which is part of the Pali Canon, but it's a Abhidhamma-like text, a very late text. This is called the Petakopadesa, the illustration of the baskets. This is possibly the last text that was put into the Pali Canon. It's a guideline about how to interpret the suttas. It says here in that section, if you want to look at it in Sutta Central, you look for PE6 in Sutta Central. You'll find it there. When a devotee is devoted to the virtue category, he does not assume hate or dosa. He eradicates the underlying tendency to hate. He removes the barb of hate. He completely comprehends painful feeling, and he overcomes sensual desire. So that's virtue. So sila is love. Sila is the manifestation of love, not to harm oneself, not to harm anybody. Pure metta embodied or reified into a checklist of guidelines. If you have pure metta, you will keep these individual guidelines. So that's the overarching unifying theme and principle. And then there are these three roots of suffering, which is called dosa, lobha, and moha, are usually given in the other order as greed, hate, and delusion. That's what's keeping us trapped in samsara. So your sila will take care of your hatred. Then in the Samādhi category, he doesn't assume lobha or greed. He eliminates the underlying tendency to raga or passion. He removes the barb of greed. He completely understands pleasant feeling. He surmounts the element of form. In this case, Samādhi is associated with obtaining a seclusion from sensual desire, from being able to experience the powerful, blissful, joyful, and happy feelings associated with meditation, while at the same time being secluded from any triggering of greed. The mind in Samādhi is stable and is able to obtain stillness, which is opposite to the tendency of the mind, which is overwhelmed by sensual desire or greed of continuously wanting to reach out and grasp after the next thing. So greed is continuously dissatisfied, continuously reaching, looking for something out, looking for the next pleasure, finding even like more enjoyment of what they think is going to be the pleasure of the next acquisition that they're going to get. That's the problem of greed. So that's overcome by Samādhi. And then the third of the three categories, the wisdom category, it's Panya. He doesn't assume avidya. He eradicates, he doesn't assume moha or delusion. He eradicates avidya or ignorance. So ignorance and delusion are eradicated by understanding. So now when we come to the spectrum of ethics I invite you to consider about how these practices, some of them are like preliminary practices that bring you up to entering into Samādhi, entering into jhana. They're all could be considered part of the Samādhi part of the Eightfold Noble Path, which includes the right effort to purify the mind of unwholesome states and to arouse and stabilize wholesome states of mind. This is dealing with the akusala dhammas and the kusala dhammas, the unskillful thoughts or the unskillful mental states, and the skillful thoughts and states. That's what the right effort is about. And then our right mindfulness is remembering to be present, to turn the awareness towards the inner phenomenon that can be observed in the body and the different aspects of mentality, and observing within, remembering to be mindful of the way that the dhammas are, that concepts pointed out by the Buddha are arising to our direct experience. So we can see how, and then Samādhi itself, or the four jhanas. These three areas are all covered in the Sariputta's discourse about the spectrum of immersion. He said, how does a mendicant guard the sense doors? This is samvara. When a mendicant sees a sight with their eyes, they don't get caught up in the features and details. If the faculty of sight were left unrestrained, bad, unskillful qualities of covetous and displeasure would become overwhelming. For this reason, they practice restraint, protecting the faculty of sight. And similarly, with the five senses, sounds, smells, tastes, and touches. And similarly, when they know that there's a thought in the mind, they don't get caught up or obsessed with the features and details, knowing that if the faculty of the mind were left unrestrained, bad, unskillful qualities would become overwhelming. So those bad qualities are covetousness, that's wanting to get something that doesn't belong to you. Ayyā, there's two different words. One is kama, K, long A, M-A, not to be confused with kama. So the kama or kama raga is the sensual desire. That's more about just the pleasure, the sensual pleasure, the sensual enjoyment connected with the five physical senses. And then Ayyā is more in the realm of this idea of acquisition or getting something or wanting to take something. So it's verging over into the idea of greed. Particularly taking something that doesn't belong to you, like coveting another man's wife would be one example. But we know that once we've started to get a little bit of wisdom, and we've heard this Dhamma taught by the Buddha, we have heard that nothing actually belongs to us, and we have to let go of the ownership of actually everything. All the phenomena we're able to experience should be contemplated with the thought, this is not me, this is not mine, this is not myself. So that thought, this is not mine, is an aspect of this sense restraint. So if you are able to read some poetry, listen to music, watch the news, or look at a beautiful person of the with the features and gender of the person that you're sexually attracted to, if you're able to look at them, and those unwholesome states of mind do not arise for you because you've developed some detachment and some wisdom about it, then it's okay, with care, with awareness of the potential danger, to look and see at anything. So we're not trying to put complete blinders on for the rest of our life and only, look down at the floor and never look up at anything at all. But if those different kind of sites do trigger greed in you, do trigger agitation or instability in your mind, do trigger mental obsessions, then you may consider choosing to seclude yourself from having to look at those kind of things. So that's the first of the points in the spectrum of Samādhi. Then the second point is called mindfulness and situational awareness, which is Sujata's translation for Sati Sampajanya. This is the mindfulness in terms of memory, remembering to keep a measure of wisdom active as your firewall to prevent you from letting you make mistakes and generate bad karma for yourself. How does a mendicant have sati sampajanya? It's when a mendicant acts with situational awareness. That's a yoni, so manasakara. You could call that wise direction of the mind. When going out and coming back, when looking ahead and aside, when bending and extending the limbs, when wearing the outer robe, the bowl, and the robes, when eating, drinking, chewing, tasting, when urinating and defecating, when walking, standing, sitting, sleeping, waking, speaking, and keeping silent. So this is the level of remembering to be mindful that you're able to keep throughout the entire day, to be careful. Another word that you sometimes see for this is the Pali word appamada, which is sometimes called being heedful. Pamada is almost like being intoxicated. So someone who's intoxicated is like in a blackout. Let's say you got up in the morning, you brush your teeth, have breakfast, and drive to work, and you arrive at the office, and you're not able to remember one thing that happened in the morning because you were just going on automatic the whole time. So at that time, your mindfulness had dropped. You were acting almost like you were intoxicated by being on the autopilot without any kind of awareness. And the Buddha says, don't do that. Try as much as possible to be aware all the time of what's going on. And being aware of the states that are coming on are beneficial or not. If you want a little checklist before you do something to think about it, you may ask yourself quickly, just learn this list and learn how to do this quickly. It only takes a couple seconds. Why am I doing this? Is it suitable for this time and place? Am I remembering to be mindful, to be aware of my inner states? And then do I know that this whole process is not me, not mine, not myself. It's all simply arising from causes and conditions as part of an impersonal process. So that's a checklist that's given in the Visuddhimagga for this mindfulness and clear comprehension, mindfulness and situational awareness, or sati sampajanya. The next is contentment. How this is the absolute way of overcoming greed, overcoming the desire to be that part of what I mentioned before about how abhijja or covetousness is always not really comfortable with the present moment, the here and now, always reaching for the next moment, always reaching and wanting the next thing, always finding a fault and wanting to make it better, always being enticed by some kind of idea of something else that's going to be better than the present moment. So that's the restlessness, discontent. But if you practice contentment, then you will be keeping your mind in a relative state of stillness, that the thing that arises, you can just see the arising of whatever it is that's arising for you. You can see the arising, the existence, the passing away of all the moments, all the different things that come and go throughout the day. So that's contentment. So contentment helps with greed. And then contentment also does help you with hatred because you practice not reacting. So if something is unpleasant, if you learn to just know, oh, that's unpleasant, there's an unpleasant feeling, that's a painful feeling, and just notice it for what it is, and not running away from it, but being willing to be present and aware of a painful feeling. Contentment does not mean that you should be contented and satisfied to have unskillful, unwholesome, evil states of mind or evil intentions arising in your mind and thinking and sticking there. So if you're thinking, I'd like to harm somebody, and you are fantasizing about different ways of harming that person, something like that, don't be content with that state of mind. Instead, use right effort to purify that, but with the requisites of life and with the phenomena, the things that come to us, be content with that. The next one is giving up the 5 hindrances. The 5 hindrances are the factors and phenomena that block us from being able to enter into Samādhi, which are supported by misconduct. So if you got bad sila, then it's very likely that your 5 hindrances will really be rampant. But if you have purified your sila or your ethics, become very considerate and mature about the practice of ethics, already you've come partway towards taming the 5 hindrances and having them be weak. In particular, giving up the hindrances inside, as it's explained in the sutta, it's just when you've been able to come to your place for meditation, that's the moment to let go of the hindrances internally. When you have this entire spectrum of noble ethics, this noble sense restraint, this noble mindfulness and situational awareness, this noble contentment, then they frequent a secluded lodging a wilderness, the root of a tree, a hill, a ravine, a mountain cave, a charnel ground, a forest, the open air, a heap of straw. After the meal, they return from the alms round. They sit down, cross-legged, set the body straight, establish mindfulness in front of them, then giving up covetousness for the world, they meditate with a heart rid of covetousness, cleansing the mind of covetousness, giving up ill will and malevolence. They meditate with a mind rid of ill will, full of compassion for all living beings, cleansing the mind of ill will. And I would say that these two hindrances are very directly overcome if the contemplation of loving kindness, arousing the thought of loving kindness, extending loving kindness, whether you're using the method of sending it to oneself and different kinds of persons, different kinds of beings, or whether you're using the method of the boundless radiation of loving kindness in all directions, and the other Brahmaviharas. You could say that loving kindness directly addresses hatred, ill will, and malevolence. You could say that compassion also overcomes ill will. If there's anything in the mind, any hatred, any of that kind of negativity, it's a very quick, short step to look at that hatred as a kind of suffering and to bring compassion to that situation. Then giving up dullness and drowsiness, they meditate with the mind rid of dullness and drowsiness, perceiving light, mindful and aware, cleansing the mind of dullness and drowsiness, giving up restlessness and remorse, they meditate without restlessness. Their mind is peaceful inside, cleansing the mind. Inside, cleansing the mind of restlessness and remorse. That restlessness is also closely related to the reactions to pleasant and unpleasant things. So you could say that restlessness, it said in the commentary, restlessness hankers after the future and is countered by contentment. And you could say that remorse digs up the past and is countered by ethical purity. Giving up doubt, they meditate having gone beyond doubt. Not undecided about skillful qualities, cleansing the mind of doubt. So, in this case, skeptical doubt is something that is noticeable among people who never heard the teaching of a Dhamma or who have not found the path of practice that works, that really is transformative, as this gradual training is transformative. They may be trying this, trying that. You could say that if one has had the blessing of having good friends, Kalyanamitas, in one's life, having an opportunity of hearing the true Dhamma or reading about the true Dhamma by reading the suttas, and then if one has tested all those teachings in a rational way, do these teachings make sense? Do the qualities of the teacher or the qualities of the Buddha seem to be the qualities that are admirable and noble that you want to emulate? And then take those teachings on board and begin to practice with those feelings. And then you discover for yourself that these teachings are effective, because you can experience directly, internally, with your own experience, how efficacious, how successful these teachings are. And then you begin to have this proven confidence, which has been both external in terms of faith in the Buddha and in his teachings, and also validated with one's own experiences. Then if you are lucky enough in this lifetime to gain the jhanas, or the higher kinds of meditation, you can validate for yourself internally what those states are. Or if you are lucky enough in this lifetime to gain the path of stream entry, or the fruit of stream entry, or any of the noble attainments, then you will know absolutely internally, in your own mind, through your own direct knowledge and direct realization, the efficacy of this path. And then once you've realized that, then you've got that you've given up that doubt. And that is really rocket fuel for finding the enthusiasm and the energy to follow the rest of this training. I'm not going to give the whole discourse about the four jhanas, but they are characterized by, especially by these factors: seeing that the hindrances have been given up, joy springs up, being joyful, rapture or piety springs up, and that piety, born of seclusion from the hindrances, is the mark of the first jhana. And when the mind is full of rapture, it says the body becomes tranquil. It's not just the material body, but the whole body-mind. All of the factors of the body-mind together become joined together into this experience of tranquility, stillness and tranquility. And that's a quality that's experienced in the second jhana. And when the body, or the body and mind, the entire chitta kaya, that means like all of the factors of mentality all together, as well as the material body and the way that with the mind we're able to experience the material body. So the whole thing is tranquil. Then we feel the sukha of the unification of the mind, sometimes called bliss, this deep, beneficial, pure happiness, which is completely safe, which is not addictive, which doesn't have the danger of sensual passion, or the kind of pleasures we get from relieving the pain with the five senses, or having a pleasure with the five senses. So then that's a characteristic of the third jhana. And then when a person is blissful, the mind gains Samādhi, which is the characteristic of the fourth jhana, which is beyond pleasure and pain, which is not really involved in any preferences at all about pleasure and pain, including body or mental, but instead that equanimity towards the Vedanas, accompanied by neutral feeling, neither pleasant nor unpleasant. Vedana is characteristic of the fourth jhana. So that equanimous, neutral meditation, which has very powerful mindfulness, or the ability to see clearly, and has the very powerful equanimity factor. So the mindfulness and equanimity are joined together, like looking into a pond where the water is completely pure and clear, and one can look down into the pond and see the little minnows, or the frogs, or the whatever it is that's inside the water, the pebbles and the plants and so forth. You can see that. So that's what the four jhanas are. Going backwards just a little bit, there are these metaphors about the five hindrances, and you may use these metaphors, or you may invent your own metaphor. If you've got a picture, an image of how this hindrance activates and manifests for you, then that picture is much more easier to recognize and to call up in order to recognize, oh, here comes a hindrance. Much easier to see it in a way that you got the motivation to release that hindrance very quickly, drop it like a hot potato. So that's the purpose of these metaphors, because they are memorable, and it's calling on a part of your thinking process, which is not verbal thinking, but calling on a pre-verbal, like a visual thinking. So being in debt is like you're a contractor. You've got to work. Being greedy is like being a debtor. So you've got a mortgage, and every day you've got to work to pay the mortgage. And maybe your debtor, your creditor, is a very unstable and cruel person that is able to change the conditions and say, oh no, there's a balloon payment coming up. Oh no, and you don't know what they're going to do to you. They could quadruple the interest. They could give you 100% interest, and so that's how you're continuously never comfortable, never easy when you're in debt. And if you paid off your debt and you don't have that disturbance anymore, then you're free of covetousness. Ill will is like an illness. You lose your appetite, you become weak. And when you recover from that, you regain your appetite, you regain your zest and your strength. I think some people have an aversive personality, or maybe because the factors of their life that they were exposed to a lot of hatred like that. So if you actually have a ill will towards anybody, this is serious. You should get to the doctor. You should take care of it right away. If you're sick, you shouldn't just live with your sickness. I have one friend who told me that she was, her family had been harmed. She was from Vietnam. Her family had been harmed by the history with the war in Vietnam. She had was able to practice loving kindness for all sentient beings in the entire world, except the communists. She did not have loving kindness for the communists because of what they had done to her family. So that was a sickness. That's a cancer. That person's got cancer. It's really serious. Important. Start to ring the alarm bell. And so I was like, get to the doctor. You've got to take care of that. So that's your will. Dullness and drowsiness is like being in jail. So when you're in the lockup, you don't get to see the county fair. And then everybody will be talking about how much fun they had at the county fair, but you didn't see it because you were dull and drowsy. Or the example given in the commentary is you're dull and drowsy during hostility talk, and you're nodding off during the talk. And then afterwards, the people are saying, what a great talk that was. It was so beneficial. I love the metaphors the teacher used. And you can't say anything because you slept through it. So, dullness can, these hindrances are, there's a lot of interaction among the hindrances, like aversion is really stressful. Stress is really exhausting. So if you can be exhausted because of your greed or exhausted because of your ill will, that makes you sleepy. Or like a resentment can manifest as boredom. So like if you're really bored because you're resentful. So then in one way, the opposite, a good opposite to that is taking an interest. So if you can find a way to take an interest in the subject, that's your get out of jail card. But if you are exhausted because of physical illness, or you're exhausted because you didn't get too much sleep, or you had too much physical work during the day, then you should rest. It is worthwhile, especially on a longer retreat, to try to continue meditating, even though you feel drowsy. Sometimes a person can break through the drowsiness, like they were really exhausted for some time, but they didn't give up their meditation. Maybe they did some walking meditation or standing meditation to try to overcome the drowsiness. They're still drowsy, and then something happens and they break through it. They're not drowsy anymore. And so if you can find that, learn how to do that, then you can get out of jail. Doubt is like being lost in the desert or lost in the wilderness. You have got, in this metaphor, you have a lot of wealth. You're a merchant who's carrying your merchandise to the next town to sell it. And then you get lost and you don't know which way to go. So you can't go in any direction because either way you go is just wasting your energy without any certainty that it's going to take you to your destination. So that's what doubt is about. This is why even if you have just enough confidence in this Dhamma, or just enough confidence in the Dhamma teacher that you're working with to be willing to try out following the suggestions that they give you, you got to have at least that much to go to the next step. And then as you go along down this path, what the Buddha is asking for you, what this path is asking for you, becomes more and more profound, challenging and difficult. And so then, because this path is beautiful at the beginning, middle, beautiful at the end, so you're cumulatively acquiring more and more confidence as you go along through this path, because you're seeing step by step how this path is effective, how it is leading to mental health and psychological health. So the portion of this path, which is kind of like a self-help program for your mental wellness, has the function of enabling you to have enough confidence to go to the profound levels of this training, going towards liberation. And then the last hindrance is, that's the 5 hindrances. Did I say them all? Restlessness. I forgot restlessness. Restlessness is like being a slave or an indentured bondservant. So if the boss says, do this, you do this, or the boss says, do that, you do that. You never have your own time. So that's the metaphor for restlessness. And as I said, all of these hindrances have some interaction, but if you've got one that is typical for you or common for you, you got to investigate that and keep working on that until you work out how to overcome it. And if you work out how to overcome each of the hindrances that comes along, so that if they arise for you, you can see it coming quickly. And as soon as you see it coming, you know the danger and easily and quickly put that hindrance down and return to your subject. Then you will be able to enter into Samādhi. So I'm going to take these few minutes to see questions. I see a lot of good morning, but I'm not seeing questions about this topic. The topic again is Digha Nikaya number 10. And the commentary that I mentioned before is PE 6, Petikopadesa 6. There's a question, is sense desire is like a debt? How to become free of debt? So the practice of sense restraint is the first, most logical practice. So if you drink alcohol and you're not able to drink alcohol without becoming overcome by your alcoholism, then you don't drink alcohol. So that is a kind of sense restraint, is just removing yourself and taking physical seclusions from the things that arouse sense desire in you. And this is just the same thing if any of the processes of life, for myself as a monastic, the life is so easy because there's so many potential dangers in the mind, like we don't ever see alcohol, we don't see that much food, and because of this is eating once a day, then eating food becomes actually like very functional. If you're eating all day long, then eating can easily become something that's like you do it to soothe your anxiety, or you eat food to comfort yourself. Anytime some unpleasant thing comes along, you might have some ice cream for comfort. And so in that way, both central desire for food comes brought up like that. But if the food then becomes very functional, then that doesn't anymore become a locus for sensual desire. In our case, the biggest craving at all that is a danger for monastics is entertaining the mind with information. And so it might be that at the monastery you say, the air conditioning is broken and I would like to look up I'd like to have the committee get a part for the air conditioning, and then I can go on the Google machine and I look up air conditioning and spend the whole morning learning about air conditioning and all the different things that they're trying to sell me and the different tricks and systems and so forth about air conditioning. And it's sometimes is necessary to think about practical things that are not part of the sutta, but at the same time, it can be an entertainment, a distraction, a diversion, and then it can be used just like getting ice cream. So every time that there's a minute and there's a sense of being some kind of like internally stressed out or something like that, just read something or look at something and start turning on the external TV because it's a comfort food for the mind. And if you use information like that as your comfort food, then you're feeding the television set inside the mind or the radio inside the mind, so that when you try to, so that's some examples. So be aware of what activities of the day are arising central desire, and try to consider, can you be detached and very functional, seeing the danger in those kind of activities. And if you're not able to be detached, think about finding actual materialistic seclusion from those activities, and then try to take them in like a measured amount, a limited amount. So like if, what's another kind of central desire? Sleeping in bed. Oh, that's a lot of sensuality in that, isn't there? So don't sleep too much. So that's how to become free from debt. There's a question, what is PET? So PET is sometimes translated as rapture, sometimes translated as bliss. There are three kinds of enjoyment or happiness, pleasant feeling. One is called pamoja, which is sometimes translated gladness. That's kind of a preliminary happiness. The second one is called piti, which is a really strong, clear, very different kind of happiness that one can experience in meditation, sometimes called like a joyful interest. It's like the object of meditation, or the meditation process becomes really so great, so fantastic. You're really there for it, really interested, and it's accompanied by pleasant feeling. And then sukha is a very broad feeling, which is a broader kind of happiness or welfare, well-being. That's what PT is. Sut is asking, it feels like a catch-22 because we seek refuge in central desire, then can't attain jhana. And because of central desire, so the central desire is an escape from, jhana is an escape from central desire. So you got to learn how to abandon central desire first. And you're doing this with mindfulness. So if you can't obtain jhana, you have to practice sati. And you have to keep on practicing and practicing and practicing and practicing with sati. With your sati, you're aware of how central desire arises in the mind, how it manifests, where it came from, what it goes to. You see the arising and disappearance, how the sati, how the central desire comes and goes, comes and goes, comes and goes. And with mindfulness, you're able to recognize what's skillful and not skillful. So with mindfulness, you can recognize sati as being an unskillful thing, and how the freedom from that is skillful. And so through that practice of mindfulness, and also the practice of the right effort, sama vayama, sama sati, then the sense desire becomes weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker, and then it disappears. And then the jhana arises. Here's a question. What do you know who has samadhi? Many different meditators have samadhi. Some of them have sama samadhi, which is called right samadhi. That's a samadhi based on right view. And some of them based on in the Eightfold Noble Path, grounded on right ethics. And some people have what's called wrong samadhi, just because of your culture, your life, your perfection. Some people are so lucky that if you sit down and watch the breath, everything else drops away and you're able to be focused and clear and still with that concentration on the breath, secluded from the hindrances and achieving rapture. But if you've got that good luck to be able to go into right samadhi without having also had the chance to develop the right view and purify the ethics, you should practice all the other steps of the Noble Eightfold Path, and then you'll have the kind of samadhi that has a chance to mature into the breakthrough to wisdom. Right? Lots and lots of people have samadhi. Okay, I think this is enough for now. Thank you for your participation and your good questions. And we'll say sadhu, sadhu, sadhu to end this meeting. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.